This fellow has no idea what's ahead of him. An open manhole in the middle of the road. R/S credit. What can kill you that people often underestimate? Water, pools, lakes, etc. People forgot how easily their children or themselves can get into trouble while they are near the water. One minor misstep, and it's really easy to fall. I'm constantly almost dying on stairs. It's only a matter of time. I almost died from carbon monoxide poisoning 2 days ago. I spent about 2 days just passing out in my bed. I was so tired. Eventually somebody smelled gas, because I couldn't, so they called the energy company who had somebody there maybe 30 minutes later. Her co-meter was going off as she walked up to the door, before it was even open. She said open windows and leave right now. That was when I realized I had been passing out for 2 days, and in such awkward positions, that my back was sore as hell. So I got to the hospital and my resting heart rate was about 130, and I was told my skin was an off color, but other than passing out I felt no symptoms. I didn't notice my heart rate was so high because it wasn't accompanied by heavy breathing like usual. I was the only one home most of the time. I might never have woke up if that had continued for much longer. Seriously folks, if you don't have carbon monoxide detectors on every level of your home, go get them. If you are renting, get the landlord to buy them. Fridges and vending machines. Don't climb them or shake them. The vending machine kills more than a shark. To be fair, that statistic would likely change if people regularly interacted and shook sharks down on a daily basis. And if sharks were in gas stations and snack rooms and street corners, just waiting. 24 hours a day everywhere there are people. Flare gun, treat it the same as a handgun. I know a guy who can only flip me off on one hand because of a flare gun. I know a guy who can only flip me off on one hand because of a flare gun. Is it cause you shot him with a flare gun? No, he found one and pulled the trigger. It was indoors too, in a small room. Poor guy. He bird flipper turned into mist. Flare gun, treat it the same as a handgun. I know a guy who can only flip me off on one hand because of a flare gun. Is it cause you shot him with a flare gun? Water, pools, lakes, etc. People forgot how easily their children or themselves can get into trouble while they are near the water. From Michigan, so lake swimming is a big thing. If the lake water is over my head, I have a life preserver on. Done, no exceptions. I'm a healthy young adult, but one wrong breath or cramp and you sink, and you're not kicking off the mucky bottoms in a lot of our lakes like you can in a pool. My family are all lifeguards and I can't stress how important that last line is. People die just assuming the ground is similar to sandbars or pool walls. Lack of sleep. It will do you in and lower your life quality until it does. Even a measly 2 hours can be the difference between a super dark mood or my normal cheery 8-hour self. It's just odd how fast lack of sleep will fuck with a seemingly stable mental state. Back in college I used to go a day or two without sleep without realizing how bad it was. I used to brag about it too to my friends, until my doctor told me it was literally going to kill me if I didn't stop. Even a small nap is 10x better than no sleep at all. Bacteria. Appendicitis. Dad told me to man up, shut up and deal with it, and to fix my diet, and that it was just a stomach cramp that everyone gets. I'm on the smaller side and pretty fit. If I had followed that advice I would have been dead by the next day. Had emergency surgery. He was giving me that lecture again when the doctor walked in and shut down every single point. Edit. My dad wasn't told it was appendicitis until after the surgery. He was upset and didn't show up until then. The doctor corrected him and he did apologize since he had appendicitis when he was the same age, and when he was younger a neighbor of his had died from it. A neighbor of my mom's also died from it. Ironically, she's the one who says man up now, and my dad is the chill parent. That's how my paternal grandmother died. Her husband, my grandfather, told her to stop complaining. She was in her 20s with 4 kids. Wow. I bet he thinks about that every day. Poor grandma. They came over from Italy along with other family. My dad and his siblings had it rough growing up without a mom, and their father was an absolute prick. Hence, him telling her to stop complaining. Not exactly a nice guy, but my father was wonderful, so were his siblings. Had her my first boss out of college, tried to pull that one on me. I waited 3 days. The damn thing ruptured, and I called the ambulance from my office, and was in surgery within a few hours. Could have died. Day I came back I put in my 2 weeks notice. A year later I find out that almost everyone there lost their job, because the branch got sued for some unrelated reason. I missed a major bullet there too. Couldn't have been a more perfect timing to completely blow an organ out. My boyfriend's brother was hospitalized recently with the flu. His girlfriend found him passed out in their bathroom. He's 38 and in relatively good health. The flu is nuts. Large bodies of water. The ocean wins every time. A river will win every time. Our bodies are weak and small compared to the sheer weight density of flowing water. Even still water is dangerous. I had a good friend who drowned 2 years ago. He was 22 and fit as a fiddle. I would describe him as athletic and trim. He died in a small lake in southern Utah swimming around. We think he got a cramp and drowned that way, but there's no way to know for sure. Water always wins if you don't take it seriously. Even then there's no guarantee. Electricity, very, very dangerous, but people just mess with it. A teaspoon of water in the lungs can cause a person to drown. That small amount of water can trigger laryngospasm, closing off the airway. Taking the wrong meds together. That's why you should always let your doctors know what meds you mix have been prescribed by other doctors. Cause mixing side effects generally tends to be pretty dangerous. And it's an even bigger problem for non-prescription meds, because usually no one tells you that you shouldn't take them together. Edit, since everyone is saying that, and I didn't think of it before, so thank you for pointing it out. I want to add here that pharmacists usually know more about the interactions of the meds than your doctor. Especially since, as I said, your doctor can't see what other doctors might have prescribed you. Edit 2, another thing I didn't know, be careful with grapefruit. Also alcohol, but I think that should be common knowledge. And some meds react badly to milk as well, I think. Pancreatitis. I was 17 and told my mom my stomach hurt and asked if I could stay home from school, to which she said no. So I skipped and went over to my then boyfriend's house because his mom worked from home and I felt like death and didn't want to be alone. I was throwing up so much I got really dehydrated and passed out. She took me to my mom's work and explained that I'd come over to her house and I was obviously ill and my mom should take me to the doctor. My mom took me to the walk-in clinic. They gave me nausea meds via shot and sent me home. That night I start running fever and can't get it to break. My dad, who is very easygoing and calm, finally puts me in the car and takes me to a CT scan showed my pancreas close to rupturing. I was admitted and had to stay almost 2 weeks in the hospital with no food or water. Everything through 4th. It sucked. The morphine did little to help. My mom still thinks I was just being dramatic. Tylenol overdose. The difference between typical dose and dangerous overdose is surprisingly few pills. My friend worked as a resident in an ER and told me the story of a teenage girl who decided to attempt suicide. However, it was more a cry for attention than a real attempt, as she took a bunch of Tylenol, then immediately called a friend to tell them what she had done, so that friend came over and took her to the hospital. She got the attention she wanted and told my friend that she was okay after they pumped her stomach and all that and wanted to go home now. But you know, it was a suicide attempt, so they had her talk to someone. And it was true that it wasn't a real attempt to kill herself. She felt she needed to do something to get people to listen to her, or whatever. I'm not judging. She wanted to then just go home, but my friend had to tell her that she did massive damage to her liver and couldn't just go. Apparently she figured that it was just Tylenol, not sleeping pills or anything like that. He's like, no, sorry kid, we gotta deal with this. Note, maybe it was kidneys, I don't know, it was bad whatever it was. Loneliness. I'm not trying to be deep or profound or whatever. Loneliness makes me wanna blow my brains out. I think with its increasing prevalence, people underestimate type 2 diabetes. I could be wrong. Maybe people have a solid fear of it, but it is truly terrible. It affects everything, from kidney function, your veins, which in turn affects your eyes, and can cause blindness, and reduces blood flow everywhere, and can cause neuropathy, and cause you to lose some of the feeling in your extremities. It can also raise your risk for high blood pressure, which has a whole other bunch of problems that comes with that. And probably more things that I'm forgetting. When I was taking anatomy and physiology classes, every time diabetes came up I was like, man, this disease sucks. It was the first thing to pop into my head when I saw this thread, because a patient of ours in the office I work at just suddenly died of it. The family was in shock from what I heard. For some reason people don't tend to think that a car can kill you. Edit. Wow. I didn't thought it would become this big of a deal. But I'm glad that everyone agrees that safety is no joke. I was actually on a car accident when a drunk driver crashed me while I was on my bike. It wasn't anything serious. My jacket and helmet took the worst part, but it's scary to think that for just dumb luck I made it a little too early or a little too late and death. So always stay safe. Rules can be a pain in the ass sometimes, but they are there for a reason, and it's not to break them. Don't speed on yellow, especially if it's a intersection. Don't get cocky. Just because you are on the highway, you can and will lose control of the vehicle. Stay safe and be responsible. Edit 2. When I say bike, I mean motorcycle. Few things piss me off more than a driver crossing into other lanes cause they are on their phone. Basically saying fuck my life and anyone else's. Choking on your food. Eat more slowly. Chew your food, people, it won't run away from you. Slipping in the shower. A loved one can just snap and murder you because of a small thing. One of these is not like the other. Antibiotic resistance. You don't need an antibiotic every time you're sick. I promise. Garage door springs. My boss's one broke last weekend, and it put a hole in his trunk and ceiling. It took 3 of us to raise the door without the spring. They're under a ton of pressure. Falling asleep on the toilet and smashing your head on the tile. After working 12-hour shifts 14 days in a row, it nearly happened to me. Luckily we had a bath mat, so I just got a minor head wound. High tension lines. I see people put their faith into lines so tight that it would cut them in two if it snapped the wrong way. People who has no space for car parking, they park there like this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and comment. Do subscribe for future videos.